We're going to do spaceships first. There's going to be just a deep dive of 2026 stuff.
We've said a lot about this next year's ships. So we've talked about the Aurora Gold Standard, and we revealed that an Aurora Mark II is going to come. What else did we confirm?
Oh, that's a dangerous.
Not fall into that trap.
I'm getting confused.
Railen.
Railen is coming. Railen is coming next
Parasite module.
Command module, which implies.
Okay,
Ironclads.
well, no, because you said the command module will come alongside the Ironclad.
Yeah.
And so if you just said the command module is going to come next year.
No, we didn't say it was coming next year. We just said what we confirmed.
But John just said.
Oh, I just said it.
You just said the command module.
I'll go say everything.
Lamps are coming to the game.
This is what happens when we don't do a show in a while. I forget how these things work. Let's go ahead. Let's not reveal the entire ship list of 2026.
No,
because people
that's crazy. Reveal the whole freaking ship list, dude. It's 27 ships is crazy. Did they confirm 27 ships in this video, or was it somewhere else? Because that's a crazy amount. Like 23, maybe 24 ships was nuts already this year. 27 ships? What? They're gonna be releasing ships like in the first weeks of the month of the year.
No one's interested in that.
People like to talk,
videos.
and people like to. But let's give. I hit the content. I hit some of the content creators at the beginning of the show. The people who do the
What are they working on?
What is it called when they do the watch?
Watching. Viewing is what we call it, I think.
No, not watch party. It's not a party.
Co-streaming.
No, when they sit there and they react.
Viewing.
Videos, that's what it's called. Let's give people. Let's give them something to react to that they can feed the beast, because they do wonderful service.
See, I'm pretty sure he said something along the lines of this would be like content for the next 2 weeks or something. We make content with our content. I want to point out, folks, that we are a full-on month past this video, and I'm still making content from it. Okay, so don't get it wrong.
Project and get the game out and stuff like this. Let's reveal the manufacturers of every ship in 2026. Because we know what the schedule
I hope
is.
someone's got the list.
Let's reveal the
Releasing or working on?
Releasing.
Two different.
Just the manufacturers of the releasing ships in 2026.
Drake.
Yep.
Aegis.
RSI.
Aegis. Yep. Did you say RSI?
Yep.
Drake is obvious, right? Ironclad. RSI. Honestly, I think we all are expecting that there is some kind of Apollo variant. That the RSI, it could be RSI, but there's also the Galaxy, they said.
RSI.
Anvil.
Yes.
Misk.
Yes.
Anvil is... So here's the big kicker. This is an interesting situation. They don't, in fact, we're going to save where we are here. It's 144.46. There is a Forge. The Forge is a ship based around crafting. And it was part of their silhouette video of 2023. Now, there are 3 different things in 2023 that have not been delivered from the silhouette video. First is this one. No, not this one. This one. Is it this one? I think it's this one. This is like the MDC that we just got. This guy here. But instead of a turret in the back, instead of like the MTC where it's like suit lockers and cargo and stuff, this one is meant to have crafting. And I believe they're going to go over that here in the video we're watching in a minute. Then there's this. This is based on the Anvil Ballista platform. So this would also explain an Anvil delivery in 2026. Not saying that's exactly what they're talking about. There could also be a ship, but they could be talking about this. And this is basically supposed to be what I've heard described as the Clipper, but in ground form. It's got your medical bed. It's got a fabrication department unit thingy, a little place for some storage. It's basically a ground generalist vehicle, which is kind of telling. It could point towards a lot more ground gameplay coming in. There's got to be some reason for having a vehicle like this. But those are the 2 ground vehicles that we haven't seen. And then you jump forward to this guy. Whoop. We have not seen this either. Now, this is known as the Forge. Here's what we're going to hear them say about the Forge in this very video.
Guest was a consolidated Outlands ship, and that is, I think, currently called the Forge. I don't know whether we're going to keep that name or not. And you can guess from the name what it does. It's another crafting ship. It's basically a small to medium-sized solo ship with a whacking great crafting machine, bigger than the ones people have seen in the Clipper and other ships. And it also has a onboard refinery, so you can refine goods to make your things you are crafting or fabricating. And then 11th hour request for it as well was, much like the Pioneer, it's super big brother. It also has ground extractors in it, so you can land on a planet and
this ship's crazy.
Extract the resources to refine.
Okay, that's crazy. Mining, refining, crafting, all in a single person ship this is a professional ship. This is the profession of crafting, of building, of running a shop. I wouldn't be surprised if people are going to use these ships as the back end of their shops that are just traveling. You know, you just land somewhere with this ship. You have your specific blueprints that nobody else has. You have your resources that you've bought from people that are high quality, storing them in the ship. You just fly around to wherever people might be. You could really literally land outside someone's base, send out a message and be like, hey, y'all, I've got a very rare this, and that. My prices are this, and that. Here's my ship. Come on through. I'm producing for the next 2 days before I move on. It's an incredible idea for a ship. And I do wonder where we go from here if you're going to have a solo player ship that can do all that kind of stuff. It sounds like ground extraction mining is gearing up to be something significant for the game. I don't know if that's just going to be like press a button and then a little meter rises that says you're pulling this much stuff from the ground, or if this is going to be a proper advancement to mining gameplay that we should be looking forward to. But it sounds like it is closer than far. It sounds like if it is new gameplay, they've probably already got it designed. The thing is, the ship's not confirmed for next year. Let's listen in a little bit more.
Fine to use for your crafting. Yes.
And I mean, with that one, we were fairly early with the concept when we kind of paused it. Yeah. The concept's super cool. It's got this amazing kind of like slab front kind of glass canopy to it.
Full width flat glass.
Yeah, full width flat glass. So it was a really cool looking ship. Can't wait to pick it back up. But I don't know if we'll end up doing.
We'll end up tweaking it.
Yeah.
Again, it's got a, like we talked about earlier, we don't want to do things that we're not confident that the gameplay is going to be there in time for its release. And it got a few extra things added to it than when we started the concept for it. So then that's obviously pause it.
And obviously, if it hasn't been apparent now, the reason those didn't come out last year is because crafting didn't come out last year.
Yeah, and you know, it was on the production schedule.
So all 3 of these vehicles are dependent on crafting. Kind of like the Clipper, but the Clipper is a very generalist ship, so I think they feel okay putting it out still. But these other ones that we've gone over so far, these ground vehicles plus the Forge, are dependent pretty heavily on crafting for their full functionality, and so have been held back.
But we knew ahead of time enough that we were going to end up with a ship that didn't have the gameplay, so we pulled that out. I can't remember what we put in its place, but we released something else in its place.
So is crafting coming in 2026?
It's above my pay grade, so you need to...
Ask that team.
It's not this team's responsibility to comment on crafting, but like there's no reason to take this as a reason to doubt crafting's coming in 2026. I realize because this is the ship team. They're not the heads of crafting, but they do incorporate crafting into their ship, so they have some idea of where it is. But yeah, nobody really wants to be the ones to say when it's coming out or whether it is or not. I do think that crafting's going to come out next year, and I'm guessing the Forge will come out with it.
We're going to try. All right.
He said we're going to try, and honestly, that's what he said about Squadron 42 before it got made into something much bigger. So that's at least where we are with those ships. And one of the big things about next year is we know for a fact that at least these vehicles depend on crafting. So if crafting happens, these probably will happen. If crafting doesn't happen, we'll probably miss out on these. But I do think it's going to happen next year. I think base building might not, but crafting, yeah, seems pretty likely.
So we've talked about the Aurora Gold Standard, and we revealed that an Aurora Mark II is going to come. What else did we confirm?
Oh, that's a definite.
The Aurora Mark II is
fall into that trap.
I'm getting confused.
Railen.
Railen is coming. Railen is coming next year.
Parasite.
the freaking Railen, dude. That's actually crazy that the Railen's finally coming in. The first time they said that the Railen was coming in, it was supposed to be worked on after the Sulan. Sulan, I believe, was released in 2024. Probably can go right back to, I'm going to say that was Invictus week of 2024.
Polaris, Apollo, G12, Railen,
There it is.
X1s.
I'm noticing something conspicuously absent.
So all of those ships have been added to the game, except for the G12. The last two are the G12 and the Railen. So we're looking back a couple of years and seeing what their ideas were in terms of ships to deliver. Clearly, they had some change of plans for the G12 and the Railen. I think the MTC came out instead of the G12. They're very closely related ships. And I think the Railen just got put on hold because it's not really necessary and they had other cargo hauling ships they could do. But now, it's looking like it's coming in. And for those who don't know about the Railen, I'll just give you a quick look at it. Because it is a very pretty ship. It's a different ship. It's not the kind of ship that you're going to see in Star Citizen very often.
It's going to be a unique experience. So essentially you've got a Gravlev platform that's going to fly through the air, come and greet you. You get on it, click a button, takes you up to the entrance of the ship through the airlock. That's where you first get your experience of the Xi'an architecture within this ship. When you choose to get on the lift, go up to habitation, you've got a console.
Dude, it's the interior of this ship that really gets me. I know we can't see this very much from because the Sulan, honestly, I don't get this kind of interior from the Sulan. The Sulan feels a lot more organic in terms of its interior. I really love the clean, sort of hard polymer look of this stuff, how it's molded together, how it sort of flows under the floorboards here. It feels basically like an Alien Origin ship, and I really like that style. I hope they maintain it as the Railen comes in. The Sulan's got me a little bit iffy on it, but I think it looks great on the interior from these concept images.
It's made out of like 50 different pieces in it, and it all builds itself into position, and then you click the button, get on your elevator, which isn't the standard elevator either. At the moment it's at an angle, so you have a very different experience of like transitioning up through the floors and the floors.
And we know these animations are going to stay the same. I've shown you guys the animations they had using this kind of stuff. Let me see if I can find it real quick here. I think we've got a video. Yeah. Look at this. This video is from like 2016. And it shows, look at this. Watch this console in this video here.
Very different, which isn't the standard.
Watch how it comes out of the floor.
At the moment it's at an angle, so you have a very different experience.
And right there,
of like transitioning up through the floors.
All these little pieces flowing in and out of each other, right? But check this out. This is their previs of kind of the same sort of thing from back in the day. I really love being able to find these sort of matching design cues across the years. It's you don't get to do it too much because games don't usually take this long, but it's fun.
Transform to sort of enable you to get through easily. So then when you're in the habitation section, you've got access to beds and lockers. You can go left and right to the turrets and escape pods. And then you've got the dual race kitchen and bathroom section, and then sort of like a communal eating area. And then from there up, basically it takes you into a more technical section.
So we've been over this quite a bit. We won't do the whole song and dance, but that's a reminder of what the Railen is. That one is also basically confirmed for coming next year. It sounds pretty likely. What else is there?
Railen.
Railen is coming. Railen is coming next year.
Parasite module.
Command module, which implies
Okay,
Ironclad.
well, no, because you said the command module will come alongside the Ironclad.
Yeah.
And so if you just said the command module is going to come next year.
No, we didn't say it was coming next year. We just said what we confirmed.
But John just said.
Oh, I just said it.
John literally said the Ironclad. And I don't know, how can you guys, what are we going to think the Ironclad's not coming next year? Come on.
Railen is coming next
Parasite.
year.
Let's see what he says here.
Command module, which implies
Okay,
Ironclads.
well, no.
Yeah, he literally said which implies Ironclad. Like, he's confirming
Because
it.
you said the command module will come alongside the Ironclad.
Yeah.
And so if you just said
Of course the
command
Ironclad's
module is going
coming
to
out.
come next year.
No, we didn't say it was coming next year. We just said what we confirmed.
No, you said
But
next
John
year.
just said.
Oh, I just said it.
You just
said,
said the
yeah.
command module.
I'll go say everything.
Lamps are coming to the game.
This is what happens when we don't do a show in a while. I forget
The
how these
Ironclad
things
is the
work.
biggest
Let's go ahead.
assumption.
Let's not reveal
The literal biggest assumption. We know that was coming.
the entire ship list of 2026.
No,
because
reveal
people
it.
Like,
No one's interested in that.
People like to.
I enjoy
people like to
watching the
talk,
videos.
and people like to. But
We love
let's
to talk.
give.
Let us talk.
I hit the content. I hit some of the.
Keep it going.
Some of the content creators at the beginning of the show.
Hit us. Hit us again.
Did you say RSI?
Yeah.
RSI.
Anvil.
Yes.
Misk.
Yes. A Misk ship.
Okay. Misk ship.
Oh, next year.
Kruger.
A Misk ship is actually an interesting one. Now there's a rumor. There's a little bit of a theory going around that I think it was John Crew that said 2026 was going to be quote more expansive, which is like the smallest teaser ever. The smallest freaking giveaway ever, and I don't know where he would have said that. I don't remember what video that was. But that's such a, like, I'm so doubtful that is a sign of where they're going. But there is a Misk ship called the Expanse, and it is meant to be the main refining ship that we know of in the game so far. With the Galaxy coming into the game, it is possible refining is getting some focus because that also has refining. Crafting clearly also requires refining because that is just part of the natural process. You can even go back to their little crafting demonstration and look at the steps they have in their process here. We have acquiring blueprints, and then we have researching blueprints, and then we have finding resources, and then we have refining, and we have crafting. So blueprints and crafting are clearly very important for next year, and we know that's coming in. Refining is kind of a missing link there. Now, we could refine in space stations, but that will be a massive bottleneck for crafting if we have to refine in space stations. So there is a chance they're working on refining gameplay, and they want to have the Expanse and probably another refining focused ship release with that gameplay next year. That's a best case scenario. And I think there's a good chance that doesn't actually happen. It's what we hope happens, but we don't actually know. And with them saying that there is a Misk ship coming, that is a possibility. I can't even actually think of any other Misk ships that we would want that are in concept. Misk ships that we don't have yet would be the Expanse, the Hull D. The Hull B. Yeah, Chimerian's Shade. You're right. Good call. The Hull B could be what they're talking about as well. Hull B or the Expanse is a good chance on the Misk ship, unless it's something we don't know about. Who knows, man? It's a toss-up. I think the Expanse is a hopeful one. And I am hopeful. We need refining. But we haven't seen anything about that in the monthly reports. Freelancer Mark II. That's what it is. We've all been thrown for a loop.
Yes.
Misk.
Yes. A Misk ship. Oh, next year.
Kruger.
Kruger.
Yeah.
Is getting another ship.
What else we got?
Grays.
Grays is getting another ship.
The Kruger ship's going to be sick. And we have a pretty good idea of what the gray ship could be. It seems like the gray ships are literally just ships from Squadron 42 that they're bringing over to the game. And we did see some of those ships in their own trailer, their own teaser back when they were doing their Van Duel rework showcase. Whoa, that's loud, sorry. So this is back when they were showing us off the new version of the Van Duel ships back in 2019. Here's the Stinger, first time we got to see it. And then here is what is likely to be the next gray ship. As you can see, it's got the Mustang's body and wings. It looks like the Buccaneers thrusters, I think. And honestly, I don't know what cockpit that is. You don't really get to see it very well from the front. The cockpit looks a little Buccaneer-y, but no, it looks kind of like an Arrow. Maybe. No, that's not an Arrow. Anybody know what that cockpit is? You think it's the Buccaneer cockpit? I don't know. Either way, we could definitely tell that it is coming off of the Mustang body. Clearly a gray ship. Even more so obvious because the next ship that comes up is the Shiv, which is a gray ship, as we know. So I think this was a pretty clear tell, and it's likely the next grays. Oh, these are the Saber intakes. It looks pretty good, dude. I would actually be interested in this ship. It looks like it's going to be a light fighter with no interior. Depending on its firepower, I don't really see any guns on it. Depending on the firepower this thing has, it could be a really fun ship to fly. Buccaneer thrusters on a Mustang body. Yes, please. What else we got?
Origin.
What else we got?
Grays.
Grays is getting another ship.
Origin.
Origin is back. Origin is back with another ship next year.
He does say a ship. That kills me. Does he really mean ship, or did he just say that? Because it could just be a vehicle. It could be the G12, or it could be a real ship. It said it's getting a ship, but that does not mean it's getting more than one. Yeah, and that's what I'm wondering. Is it a ship, or is it the G12?
Origin is back. Origin is back with another ship next year.
Gatak.
Gatak has another ship next year.
That's the Railen.
I think. Oh. Your favorite color?
Oh, Argo.
No, he means Grey Cat. And Grey Cat.
And Grey Cat.
Grey Cat's getting a vehicle next year. So those are the. I'm pretty confident those are the main.
Grey Cat is the that crafting ground vehicle we talked about most likely, but there could be more.
Okay, rack my brain. These questions hurt me.
Yeah. So those are the manufacturers who are releasing new ships in 2026, and immediately people are like, oh, Consolidated Outland, forgot again. Crusader, boo.
Oh, there's no
We're not
Crusader.
doing
Why do you hate
Crusader,
Crusader,
don't
Ben?
I love Crusader.
Yeah, those are just the ones we're releasing on.
Those are just not the ones that are being worked on.
There are other manufacturers being worked on.
Yep.
Imply from that what you wish.
Yeah, but we like
Revealed
silhouette
a new-
videos.
Let's just push our luck. It revealed that there's going to be another Kruger ship. This is not another Wolf variant. You want to? Let's give him the name. Let's give him the name. And let him speculate.
I'm totally panicking, but this is it's the Stingray.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Sorry, I was just making sure it wasn't a working title because we have some.
Nope.
The
quite
Stingray,
interesting
dude.
working titles on.
Yeah.
You know what I think of when I think of the Stingray, I think of this ship. I don't even know what the heck it's called. This one. This is what immediately comes to my mind when I think of the Stingray spaceship. Is this even a spaceship? Did this thing fly in space? Or is this just a water vehicle? It's a submersible vehicle. It's not even a spaceship. Save me. Save me, for I am lost. A spaceship that looks like, I guess because it literally looks like a Stingray. That's why I think of it as a Stingray. I do wonder what it's going to look like, though. A Kruger medium-sized ship, I think they said it was going to be, is an interesting one. Interesting idea for a ship.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Sorry, I was just making sure it wasn't a working title because we have some quite interesting working titles on.
Yeah, we do.
Nope. So the Stingray will be the name of the next Kruger ship some point next year, and people can guess, people can speculate about what that is, and then let's end on a high note. This is IAE. We're about to go into the finale. the finale where I think all the ships come back and whatnot. The big ship for IAE this year was the Perseus. I mean, it was always like a big ship. The big ship for Fleet Week this year was the Idris. What was the big ship for IAE last year?
Polaris.
Polaris. Oh, the big ship for IAE last year is the Polaris.
The pole.
Go ahead. Let's let John do this.
I was going to say, I'm backing out of this
Let's go to
conversation
John's
right now.
camera.
We can't
Let's
get told off.
go
if John
ahead
does
and
it.
tell people what the big ship for IAE is next year.
The big ship planned for next IE is the RSI Galaxy. There you go.
They're all so there's a chat page off to the side here that they're all looking to see what happens when he says that.
Just like we said, we were going to do the RSI ships in a series. Still sticking to that.
So
There is, from some of those manufacturers, there's multiple ships coming, not just...
Oh yeah. That's not. We listed like.
I saw some people asking about certain ships.
Yeah, we listed like 11 manufacturers. Yeah. That's not only 11 ships. We did 27 ships this year.
Yep.
I don't know how many ships. I can't remember off the top of my head how many ships next year, but it's close.
Well, he's
if not
27. See, dude, I cannot count 27. I can't. I can get to like 23, maybe 24. I don't know. I think I keep missing. I'm gonna go back through again and again and again. We'll see. But yeah, the Galaxy.
So some of those manufacturers have multiple.
Some big, some small.
Yep. But yeah. But
The thing with the Galaxy is that this thing's had a little bit of controversy around it. It was originally introduced as a modular ship, I think 3 years ago now. And part of that modularity was a base building module. Only a year later, when base building became a real sort of function that they started to design and they realized they needed to move some stuff around to make it possible, they kind of didn't have it including base building. And instead they had the Starlancer build coming out to introduce base building. This caused a whole bunch of backlash, and it was quickly remedied that this ship did indeed still include its base building module. Nonetheless, that left a little bit of a mark on its release. And if I'm... Stop being dumb, I should be able to find... Where the heck... Was there not an ISC on this one? The RSI Galaxy. Here's a little talk about what this thing is meant for.
They're intended to let you experience almost every part of the game. You can change between deciding to go off to a random planet and do some cargo missions, to changing your mind and decide to do bounty hunting and bringing a bounty back and put them in your hold.
You're working on this ship?
So now, as we're on
That
the
sounds like fun.
verge of getting into more lawless systems like Pyro, I think multi-role is a great advantage to have, because you don't know what's lurking around the corner and you'll be able to react to whatever comes at you.
And that's why we're introducing the Constellation's big brother, the RSI Galaxy.
That totally makes sense too, because you got constellations within the galaxies, right? So like obviously it's going to be the bigger one. I wonder if they're ever going to release the RSI universe. Don't worry, I'll be here until Saturday. Yeah.
The RSI Galaxy is a multi-role vessel with true modularity that has different sections of the middle of the ship that can be changed out to support significant and real gameplay loops.
I just want to say here, before everybody jumps on the bandwagon, I do think the Galaxy is really cool. No, I'm kidding. It is an amazing ship. If the modularity works out for it, that's great. But even without the modularity, if you just took one of these modules and said this was the permanent version of this ship, I think this is going to be an incredibly popular ship, just for the sake that being on the Perseus has made me realize how good of a size the Perseus is for like a 4-person ship. But the Perseus is purely combat focused, and we're all thinking very combat focused in the game right now. But as this game changes to a more industry and base building and crafting and blueprint focused game, I think this is going to be an incredibly interesting ship, and probably this is going to be a really good ship. I think the Galaxy is going to be incredibly popular for small groups. Why don't we let them explain it?
It is built on the same kind of ethos as the Connie, but it's scaled up to a larger crew size.
The Galaxy has a very industrial feel compared to previous iterations, and the Constellation is a prime example. It has far less focus on its combat capabilities.
It's not a warship, so it's not bristling with guns, but it's got what it needs. We were just going for a ship that when you saw it, it just looked like you want to just get together with your friends, get that thing off the ground, turn it around and just fly as far as you can.
For me, I think the favourite thing about the Galaxy is just the look of it, in conjunction with the layout. It does keep that classic RSI sort of sub-capital shape to it.
Dude,
We've got the nice big...
I'm also just thinking about how much detail the Perseus got from concept to in-game, and like this is such a beautiful... Okay, I'll be honest. The general shape of this ship, I'm actually not a huge fan of. I think it looks a little bit weird once you get past this like pillar in the middle here. The back half of the ship to me looks a little bit strange, but the more detailed designs here, I think just looks so interesting. Make me so interested to know what's inside this ship. And the way that they've changed these kinds of ships going from concept to in-game, I feel like this is only going to look better when we get it in-game.
Sub-capital shape to it.
Dorito hater.
We've got the nice big exposed
I love a
engines
Dorito,
with
man.
some
The Perseus, I think,
like
looks
metal
great.
onto the engines, like a kind of a titanium material to complement the kind of cooler greys and
This one just looks a little bit weird in the back there.
For me, RSI goes into kind of two different groups. You've got the slightly kind of more bulbous shaped ships, and then you've got this really aggressive arrow-headed kind of stance.
It's the Dorito, you can say
Galaxy
it.
kind of really falls into that arrow-shaped kind of, driving the ship forward.
The interior architecture of the RSI brand is something that I really enjoy because it's got those nice upturned classic sci-fi walls that sort of canter in at the top. And
yeah, RSI loves their hexagons,
those because it means
pentagons.
you need a bit more room inside the vessel, so you just got to make sure you've got a bit more space. But when you've got a bigger ship like the
Galaxy, even this room he's in, this studio, is modeled after an RSI ship. And look at the window back here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Another hexagon. They love that over at RSI. RSI and I want to say Anvil love hexagons. Yeah.
See, there's enough room in there to get your accommodation for your 6 players, all your functional habitation and recreation and all your kind of crew positions and everything. There's enough room to do that and have these cool extra wide corridors with a nice architecture.
Starting at the bridge, it's a central bridge that looks down onto the main part
Oh,
of the
that's
ship.
pretty cool looking, actually.
Directly behind that, in the top deck, you have the habitation section. So you'll have a shared habitation space, and then moving further back, you have individual bedrooms, as well as the captain having their own office as well as bedroom. Behind that, you have the engineering section that looks down onto the hangar area. And it's probably one of my favourite parts of the ship, because it has a nice look down onto the actual hangar, which is a rear loading hangar, which is really cool in my opinion. The floor beneath that is where the module is, within the centre of the ship. It's a relatively large space for the different modules you might need. And directly connecting to the module section, there's the hangar.
So the 3 modules that are available are a cargo module, which increases the cargo capacity of the ship significantly.
To what? What is the cargo? How much cargo? How could you not tell us? Star Citizen Galaxy. That'll pull it up. It better be some good cargo because you compete. So it's got 64 by default, and the modularity comes with the. Oh no. No. It provides 64 SCU. That's very small. I'm betting they're gonna increase that. The 64 grid SCU cargo grids are 232 grids spaced at the edge of the hangar and do not interfere with the hangar. Oh, okay. No, this is for the hangar. So is there a cargo module? 64 is the standard, 512 is what it adds. Why is that not like here? Here we go. Okay, cargo. Vastly increasing the cargo capacity to 512. That makes a ton more sense. I was like, are you really going to sacrifice the entire modularity of the ship for 64? For 232 SU boxes? That's like the Golem. That was a little weird for a second there. Okay. So You got 512 SU of storage plus the 64. Honestly, I could see them increasing that 512. It's got tractor cranes as well to move cargo in and out, so that'll be nice. I think it's a drop-down elevator instead of a ramp. We love a freaking elevator, dude. That's the bee's knees, those elevators. So like 512 is not bad. Probably won't go over 600 even if they do update it. Somewhere around 5 to 600 SCU of cargo for this is a solid amount of cargo. You could run some good missions on this as a cargo hauler. Let's take that in comparison to, say, you know what? Let's compare it against the Taurus, since they're coming from the same company. How big an expansion over the Taurus would that be? It's about 3 to 4 times the size of the Taurus. Competitors would be like the Caterpillar, carrying around 600 SCU. So you're talking something to compete with the Caterpillar, which is around 111 meters in length, about the exact same as the Galaxy at 110 meters in length, at least in concept. So as a cargo module ship, the Galaxy is competing with the Caterpillar, is what you're thinking.
The capacity of the ship significantly.
Or the hull B, you're saying, has 512. It's going to take a smaller crew. It's going to be a smaller target, but you're going to have unprotected cargo on the outside. People are going to be able to strip that off very easily. And that could be a problem if you're going through places that are a little less protected. Because I don't think people are going to have to get through your shields to shoot cargo off of the whole series of ships. And it's not like you're going to be stopping to pick that cargo back up if somebody does shoot it off. That being said, I do think the hull B has its benefits. Definitely in safer space, it'll be better.
There's a refinery module, it's got a sweep mechanism with the underneath where the cargo ramp opens, and we've got the saddlebag deposit. So this thing's going to work really well with something like a prospector.
And then the last one is a medical.
That's it'll also be interesting. I think also this is a good point you guys are bringing up. The dedicated ships in each of these classes are probably going to be better for the specifics that they're doing, but the Galaxy having these exchangeable modules is probably where it's going to win. The whole master of, or jack of all trades, master of none. The Expanse probably going to be a better refining ship. Caterpillar hull probably be better cargo ships. Even not the Idris per se, but maybe the Liberator is going to be a better vehicle transport ship. It's going to be interesting how this ship fits in because of its versatility as opposed to its raw skills and the numbers. And I think the numbers are a big thing. Remember, guys, armor, that's starting to come in, wear and tear, components, all this stuff is starting to come in and make us think a little bit differently about what numbers your ship has and whether that makes it good or not. Thickness of armor is going to start to be something people consider when they look at their ships.
It's got a sweep mechanism with the underneath where the cargo ramp opens, and we've got the saddlebag deposit. So this thing's going to work really well with something like a prospector.
And then the last one is a medical module.
The medical module is split into 2 halves. So in the very center, there's a lift that'll bring you up. So if there's anyone injured in a vehicle, you can get them straight into the actual medical wings. Alternatively, you can use the hangar at the back to fly someone in and unload them into the actual Galaxy.
This will be an interesting one too, because medical has changed since this module was created. Now, I think there's something to be said about the possibility of hosting yourself a clinic. And we're starting to tread a little bit into the feature talk of next year, but this is possibly somewhere where features will start to make some differences next year. I don't know when they're going to do this, but they are introducing a respawn screen. And it'll basically give you the ability to choose various respawn locations for yourself when you do die. And they'll be based on, obviously, the distance from the bed, the type of bed, who owns it, what the permissions are, all that kind of stuff. But people could sit out in space and potentially have a ferry ship sit outside their galaxy, allow people to use this as their respawn in that local area, and fly people out to wherever they need to go after they respawn. I don't know. We'll see how this medical module works, though.
You can use the hangar at the back to fly someone in and unload them into the actual Galaxy. Inside the actual medical wing, you have an assortment of different tiered med beds for whatever injury the person might have sustained. Although it's been a while since we've shored off a modular ship or released any new ships that were modular, it isn't something that we wanted to move away from. Modular ships have a unique place in the universe because it helps push the multi-crew and multi-role ship. It's part of the reason why there's been less emphasis on multi-role ships in the universe recently. Now that we're getting closer to being able to deliver it, it's something we want to start revisiting again. The RSI Galaxy is perfect for a group of friends who want to be able to try lots of different aspects of the game and not limit themselves to one individual part, who one day might decide that them and all their friends are going to go out and do a load of mining and refining, making lots of money from gathering resources. But then
it would seriously be cool to have a group of friends and one of those friends has a galaxy and you just like, y'all chip in to get him the modules and you just choose any given week. Like, hey, let's go out and do some mining together and change out the module, hop in the ship, get together for like maybe a 2-day voyage where you go out for 3 hours each day or something. That's all still conceptual. I am very interested in seeing how that kind of stuff works out. I've never played an MMO. Many of you may know that how groups get together to play, but I think that CIG wants us to be able to go out in ships for multiple day voyages, and understanding how they plan on making that a possibility with the whole log on, log off stuff. One of the big questions I have with ships like this.
The next day might decide that they want to do some cargo hauling across the verse, so they go from one system to another, transporting huge amounts of goods. The next day they might decide that them and their friends want to have a battle, so they need someone to be able to heal people. It's a ship that allows them to experience the most of the game without limiting themselves.
All right, so that is the Galaxy, which is probably the second most hyped ship coming out next year. The first most hyped ship is what we're going to finish off on. Actually, let me make sure I didn't cut them off, on any of the other ships they were supposed to be talking about here.
But all right, so yeah, that's been.
Yeah, so they talked about all the ships. So we're going to finish off then with one other one that they did mention. And we've talked about this actually quite a bit on this channel. But I'm going to give you a full look at it again, just like we did with the Galaxy, because this is another interesting one that's really, really gotten to people. And I think that's because basically two things. One, cargo hauling has become a very real thing over the last couple years that people can actually understand and imagine themselves doing, because the design has started to find itself, the actual gameplay started to be implemented. So I think people are more interested in cargo and can understand the pitfalls of current cargo ships and what might make other ones better. The other thing is that Drake makes really cool ships and people love them. So we're going to finish this little ship talk off, at least, and then we'll move on to the features with a look at probably the most anticipated ship coming out next year, the Drake Ironclad.
Let's force John Crew to talk about it now.
So in the Star Citizen universe, we have a lot of cargo ships, but they're sort of concentrated around the lower end of cargo hauling, sort of the low hundreds, SU and below, and the very high end where there's multi-thousands. There's a mix of cargo ships which have their cargo on the inside, ones on the outside like the Hull series, and we really wanted to bring something different where it's sort of sits right in the middle. It's a nice progression step and facilitates both internal and external loading of cargo, which is where the Drake Ironclad comes in.
Definitely progression, but not for a solo player, I would say. Dekshan, thank you so much for the sub, man. Good to see you 6 months on the Prime here.
So the Drake Ironclad is the kind of next step up for Drake cargo ships. It kind of builds on what the Caterpillar brings, but in a much larger form.
The Drake Ironclad is a 6-person multi-crew armoured freighter. A large proportion of the ship is dedicated to the cargo bay at the front of it, which has both a front ramp for loading and unloading cargo and small vehicles on the ground, as well as a retractable roof for doing that in space with EVA as well.
Little tight entrances to cargo ships doesn't necessarily lend itself to when you're out in deep space and you're trying to quickly move some cargo from one person's ship into your ship. Really, you want as much kind of access to be able to do that as you possibly can. So by having this kind of much larger opening on top of the ship, it allows us to kind of bring cargo in much easier.
So its role being a sort of
So I think that really excites people, because one of the biggest things you'll know when it comes to putting boxes into ships in this game is like the physical nature of the boxes and the still kind of jankiness of the way that they interact makes it, oh man, like moving them into tight spots, getting them through doorways, all that kind of stuff can be just such a pain. Being able to just have a gigantic open space to put boxes into this ship, it's actually really nice.
Armored freighter comes from two distinct ways. One, the cargo itself is more protected. It's within the cargo bay that has the armored roof section that covers it. So unlike, say, a Hull C where the cargo's on the outside, you can load it from the outside but then protect it with the Ironclad.
It's also more heavily armored than the Caterpillar, so it kind of gives a little bit more security to your kind of precious cargo.
The exterior, very classic Drake brutish styling, a whole lot of engines and a lot of framework and quite thin structural elements support the rest of the ship. Very bare bones styling. It doesn't have lots of nice padding. It's all there and exposed, and it's really just sort of rugged and to the point. So the Ironclad is really three distinct areas. You have all the accommodation in the rear sort of third of the ship. The front 2/3 is really just this cargo bay with the front entrance and the retractable roof. And then you have the command module, which has seats for the crew plus a few little jump seats for everyone else. Command module is there to steer the ship when it's attached, and the command module serves as the escape pod as well. The only time you really want to detach...
the command module... I'm going to let him finish, actually. Sorry, little Kanye you, John.
...is in an emergency. It's not designed to be your sort of primary ship flying around.
It kind of gives you a little bit of a get-out-of-jail-free card. If you're transporting stuff that is quite valuable, quite sought after in maybe some of our less desirable systems, what it allows you to do is kind of have a little bit of security. So if you're getting attacked or you're getting yourself into trouble, if you want to save yourself, you can kind of jettison your cargo and try and get out of dodge and kind of get out to safety. And I think that's like a really important thing as we get closer to Death of a Spaceman.
Yeah, you need that because these Drake ships don't have escape pods. This is what they were talking about earlier when they mentioned the command module and how that would confirm that the Ironclad was coming on alongside it. This was considered a big deal when it was added to the progress tracker back in, I think it was August or September. And I mean, we could discern from the fact that the command module had been updated that they were clearly working on it to bring it in with the Ironclad. We also saw it in the monthly reports, which is another good confirmation sign that something's actually being worked on. So you can see it has work here going until February, and it reads, introducing the concept of vehicles taking over control from other host ships, primarily used for spaceships like the Drake Caterpillar and the Ironclad, of course. It's an interesting feature, but you can tell that they didn't put too much effort into really fleshing out the idea of it here. I think it's something that's going to, I don't want to say it's a solution looking for a problem. I think it's a design quirk, and it's a feature that does need to be working. So for not even these kinds of ships, this would need to be working for other ships like the Endeavor coming out later, or the Crucible, I think. But I do wonder how useful it's going to be, how much they're really going to dive into the idea of escape pods, and more importantly, survival gameplay. Survival gameplay in this game could be the coolest of almost anything. You could end up in situations where you get stranded on a planet and you have to build a base and find resources and craft your ability to call for help. But at the same time, you could just send out a message on Discord. Or like, how remote will you really be that you can't get some help in like 30 minutes? Part of me really wants to see them take this escape pod sort of command module, get out of jail free card that they're talking about, and expand on it and take it somewhere big. Another part of me is like, that just doesn't seem realistic for the game. So I don't know. But it is a cool feature on a pretty cool ship, and it's something that's likely going to be done the first half of this next year.
Kind of get out to safety. And I think that's like a really important thing as we get closer to Death of a Spaceman.
With some of the recent tech that's come online, this brought us one step closer to implementing command modules properly. So not only will you see this detachable command module feature on the Ironclad, but as well it will happen on the Caterpillar.
Interior-wise, you've kind of got two entrances onto the ship. You can either enter via the command module, and that takes you straight into a kind of corridor section. It's kind of like almost like a mezzanine. You can either go up to the habitation area, which is top floor of the ship, gives you like super nice views out both the kind of cargo out the front and the rear of the ship. Or you can kind of come down the ship into the main habitation area. Alternatively, you can enter through the dock and collar airlock, which is on the opposite side of the ship. At the rear of the interior of the ship, we've kind of got the heart of the engines. It's the big kind of engineering area where we've got all of the kind of main functional components needed for moving
Honestly,
such
that looks
a large
nice.
ship.
It just reminds me how bad the engineering area in the Caterpillar is. They're going to need to update that for sure. This one looks really, just in this sort of concept mesh, it looks really grungy and kind of, I don't know, I guess industrial. Can't wait to see how it turns out.
Where we've got all of the kind of main functional components needed for moving such a large ship. And
That's
then
a massive
if you
cooler.
Kind of come slightly further forward, got we call it the kind of like the command deck. It's not a bridge, you can't fly the ship from it, but it's where you operate the tractor beams. It's where it kind of gives you good views out over the front and into space. You've got the tractor beam turrets, but also, visually you can kind of stand in this area or sit in this area and look out over the front and over the bow of the ship and kind of really see what you're trying to pull in or what you're trying to capture.
It's interesting to continue to give the pilot not the best view in these ships, or not really to center the entire ship around the pilot, because they're starting to slowly get people to think about ships as more than just transportation options. Everybody assumes that the main role in this game is flying spaceships. And it probably will be for the entirety of the game. But I think there's a lot more to do outside of flying spaceships that haven't been emphasized as much. And a lot of these ships that are starting to come in, I think, are kind of starting to show that more. And I'm guessing at some point when players join into Star Citizen, I don't know when that point's going to be, but at some point, players aren't necessarily going to be just thinking about flying spaceships when they join. At least not as like their first and main thing that they want to do. Some people already don't. I know I don't.
Your cargo hold. As we come downstairs, we've got a little kind of covered area at the rear of the cargo hold, and that is where you can store a couple of small ground vehicles or some of your equipment for moving vehicles and cargo around. And then you're into the main cargo hold of the ship, and this takes up the majority of the interior space.
It's just a football field
It's a large cargo hold. One of the things that we were kind of really keen to do was give lots of different views and different angles down into this cargo hold. Again, as we're exploring slightly less lawful systems, we wanted to give the players as much opportunities as we can to kind of be safe aboard their own ship. So either side of the players...
Dude, you can make like a whole team deathmatch map inside of this ship's hangar. Call of Duty 4 map with all the loading containers, or like the pit in Halo 3. Just like a tiny shipping container focused FPS map down here in this. Does this ship have a medical bed on it, man?
As much opportunities as we can to kind of be safe aboard their own ship. So either side of the cargo hold, we've got these gantries that run completely front to rear on the ship, and they give great view down into your cargo bay.
It's perfect. This is where the audience would
give
sit
that
to watch.
opportunity of if there's someone tries to board you via the cargo bay, it gives you some nice cover opportunities. And we've also got a few little windows that kind of look down into it as well. As you move to the kind of like the very front, the very nose of the ship, those gantries lead into a kind of secure cargo area. It's somewhere that's a little bit more difficult to get to when you kind of enter the ship. The big thing we were referencing when we were looking at it was this idea of police evidence rooms. And so these kind of individual cages where you could put your most secure cargo, whatever it might be, in this area, and it would make it quite difficult to try and breach in or out of that area. So it gives us just somewhere a little bit more secure for kind of smaller cargo items.
How useful is this going to be for the real gameplay? I don't know. Is that going to be used in smuggling? Is there really a reason that anybody's going to be trying to steal stuff and not able to get in there? Like if they've made it onto your ship, is that really going to stop them? Is it just for players? Are NPCs supposed to be boarding? Those are kinds of like the smaller features that sound cool about this ship, but I do await an explanation for why that would really matter to most players.
Finally, at the very front, we've got...
Player-wise, obviously it will. Like, people go and try and steal your good stuff. If you want to host like a shop on here or something, or do something with your Ironclad that makes it a little more available to the public, obviously it's nice to have secure storage, yeah.
Access to one of the main turrets and the tractor beam turret.
The biggest attraction for me with it is just the versatility of the cargo space. From a good citizen law standpoint, it is a cargo ship, but also that retractable roof and the tractor beams on board it give it some less legal opportunities for perhaps taking other people's cargo ships in space and on the ground. At the time of recording, we're also exploring a more military-themed variant of the Ironclad. Doesn't have the name yet, so we'll just call it the Drake.
Ironclad Assault.
Compared to the base ship, this has been
Which is what it was.
developed to support ground assault operations. It has additional turrets covering the upper and lower surfaces to provide more fire support, and the front section
This is almost like a mini Kraken.
of the cargo area has been redesigned to enable our largest vehicles in game to be deployed from it, such as the tank. In addition, the cargo bay has been reduced in size to facilitate a onboard repair facility. So for those of you who want to have a journey in the cargo profession, traditionally you would start out in something, say like a Hull A. The next step up from there really is sort of into Drake Caterpillar territory. So you're doing roughly an 8 to 10 times jump in cargo capacity. From there, the Ironclad sits nicely between those smaller ships and the much larger bulk carriers such as the Hull C, and then ultimately you get to things like the Hull D, E, and Kraken at the end of the cargo career.
You said Kraken.
Yes.
Was that a hint at anything?
It's not a hint at anything, but making the Ironclad makes the Kraken easier.
Yeah, they've already confirmed the Kraken's coming afterward. Probably a 2027 ship.
So building out the Ironclad does, of course, kind of help us with building out the Kraken. I think increasing that visual library of assets that we can pull from and use in a Drake manufacturer at the right scale is super valuable for when we move on to the large ships.
Of course, in non-Drake related news, players in this year's event probably noticed...
Okay, so that's mainly what we know about in terms of ships. Now, there's also a large salvager. I have no idea where that was, but they had leaked or mentioned an orange salvager. Hold on, maybe we can find that real quick if we just do a search for orange, which was the last ship I think we know anything about. Here we go.
Ranger.
This would be it.
Need an orange salvage ship.
An orange one?
Yeah.
Why an orange one?
Because I think salvage suits orange ships.
All right.
No, that didn't really tell us much. Just that they want to do an orange salvage ship. Could be Drake, could be Argo. Likely we'll know more later. Not sure if that's a 2026 thing, but it is something for the future. They are working on the Liberator. I don't know. I don't think that's going to be coming next year. Either way, that's generally a pretty freaking deep dive into the ships we know mostly about in 2026.